You hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, did you see that it's live on Twitter too?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how it's behind a little bit. So let's see how what it looks like. But it says we're live.
4 people
So
are watching.
so let's see if we can figure this out, bro, because I'm looking at the thing and I do not see our faces on here, which is
Yeah,
not
it's only this
great.
the screen.
Let me see. Let's figure this out real fast. It shouldn't
Well,
take.
just in case people
Yeah.
can listen to us.
Well, they can definitely
we-
listen to us because I can
Oh
hear it
yeah.
on the thing.
Well, guess what, guys? We are back. We are here. We're trying to get everything situated. Obviously, this is something new for us. By the way, I'm Christian, and I am with Rudy here. I don't know, Rudy, if you can say hi while you're.
Hey, yeah, what's up, guys? I'm new to this stream thing, so let's try to figure it out, right?
Yes, we're figuring out as we go. We'll have Glenn Davis join us in a little bit. So thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, we're figuring it out as we figure it out. Let me tell you guys about Ugly Guppy since we're gonna get into it. Ugly Guppy is actually a company that we partner with, and they've been helping us out when it comes to having proper cool gear to kind of wear to the games, and make everything. Oh look, Dago me once in Jersey Village. Oh, that's what's up. Were you the one that had the kid? That I think we gave him a little gift, if I'm not mistaken. I think
No,
Rudy.
that's not
Different
Dago.
one?
That's not
Oh,
Dago.
okay. Never mind. Just kidding.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, well, Ugly Guppy basically they're a printing company, right? Like t-shirt printing, and they do a bunch of other stuff like that.
yes.
I might be butchering it, but they know who they are. They do really good work. The shirts that we got from them, the Bayou City stuff that we got from them is really, really good, high quality. So if you guys are in the market for shirts or anything printed, I think they do, not only shirts but different things. You can hit them up at Ugly Guppy. Uh, you know, just go
Okay.
check them out there.
Yeah, Dago's like, yeah, I'm too young to have kids. I feel you, bro. Don't tell Christian that because Christian has quite a few.
Yeah, I got too many, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what.
We're almost there, guys.
Sorry. Let's see. But
No worries.
yeah. So I mean, we're excited to kind of get a complete new process going, and we usually tend to record in our mom's basement. It feels like in a way.
Yeah.
No, we tend to record like around this time every day or every Monday, and we're excited to try something different, to say the least. Now, if we can just get our stuff situated, that would work great. But other than that, I mean, pretty excited to just get it going in a different way, different spot. Um, we didn't get to record last week. I was actually out of town and sick, so I told the guys, I'm like,
Dang,
dude,
double whammy.
I think we need to get something else happening because it wasn't fun. That was definitely not the case. But man, I am trying to figure out the layout of this thing. But Christian, I'll let you keep talking so I can keep seeing.
Yeah, I can talk for days, so I'll do this while you do that. No, but also just letting you guys know that we're gonna be doing this once a month. It's probably gonna be the last. I think we came to the consensus that might be the last weekend of the month. So we're gonna do a regular podcast, which is gonna be out every week, usually on Tuesdays. We try to, like Rudy was saying, we try to record every Monday, so we can have it out by on Tuesday, latest Wednesday, depending on what the week is looking like for us and for everybody out there. But we're gonna try to do one of these live shows at least once a week, or not once a week, once a month.
At least
And
I think if we
yeah,
can
at
get the
least.
hint, we can do it more often for sure.
There you go. So you heard it from the men. He's the resident producer over here. And if we get everything situated, we'll do it as often as we can, and we're gonna try to have cool guests as possible as well. So today we're gonna have Glenn Davis. He's gonna be hopping on here, in a little bit. You guys can obviously leave your question on the chat, and we can ask him. First person, or you can also listen to the show and maybe call. That's also an option. But yeah, so we're looking to get cool guests, people around here in the city of Houston, people that are related or have some knowledge either from the Dynamo, the Dash, Dynamo Dos, whoever is available and is able to come in, maybe even players at one point in time. We'll see if that is in the works. We'll try to get as much content as we can. And Dago already with questions for Glenn Davis over here asking about any rumors. Me personally, I haven't heard anything. I know sometimes we do hear some stuff in the weeds. We know people that know people type of thing. Shout out to Dustin. And I don't know if you guys know, but Dustin, our chief editor, he actually used to have a show called Total MLS, and basically they used to cover, as the name of the show says, the total complete MLS, and they used to talk to, really cool people. Actually, I think he showed me on his phone. He has like Hercules Gomez phone number and like a bunch of cool people like that you see on TV. Back in the day, they used to talk to him, do a show kind of similar to this. Obviously, people kind of moved on in life, and then he kind of started, what we call Bayou City Soccer today in a way. And yeah, that's where we're at. Obviously, we came in after that, little by little, kind of adding our strengths and hopefully not our weaknesses. But we're just trying to support the soccer community, what we do here, in many aspects of the sport, and just trying to give you guys whatever we can. And I don't know if entertain you guys, but we do our best to kind of keep that going. As Rushan said here, how do you think Sebas will become silky, and will he be finally in Ben's system? That's a question that we really want to ask Glenn, since he's been the one that's been following probably the team the longest in a way, and he follows them from the inside in a way. I think it would be a really good question to ask him how he sees, his game, the game of, obviously Thor going away. That's going to leave a hole in a way. And we're going to see if Pat, I was going to say Pat David, Pat Onstad and Asher and, everybody that's kind of behind the scenes, if they're going to go out and try to get a replacement for him, or just kind of stick to the guys that we have now, which would be Sebas, Aliyu, and then the guys from the draft. I don't know if you guys, let me know in the chat. What do you guys think about the guys on the draft? They look pretty legit. I try the first couple of years following the Dynamo. I would really, really get my hopes high for the guys from the draft. And then eventually, it's not that they let you down, but they're young guys. They require a little bit more time to kind of get into who they are becoming as soccer players, and then sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. I don't think we had any true, maybe all the old school Dynamo fans could probably name a few, but in my era following the team in the last like 4 or 5 years, I don't think we had any legit team, like first team starters that came from the draft. Like I said, nobody comes to mind other than Bartlow, but he's not really a starter. He's a really good backup. So I guess we can say that. But other than that, I can't think of anybody else that maybe has kind of broke through that barrier of going from college to professional type thing. So like I said, I'm not trying to get my hopes up on these two kids. The good thing that nowadays we do have Dynamo Dos, which is a really good platform for younger guys. Dynamo Dos is really looking to be, that plays where these guys can really push forward. We have the story of Mikel coming from Brazil. He was in Dynamo Dos for about a year, and then he was able to make the leap. And in that gap, or gap year that he had, that was a really good leap into, becoming a professional, becoming a starter and an MLS team. So hopefully, we'll have that kind of going for us. There's other rumors of a young Brazilian kid that might be coming to Dynamo Dos. I don't think nothing was ever confirmed on that. So it might be.
Chris.
All right, we got
it. No. So apparently I can't figure it out. But we do have Glenn Davis here, and I'm not sure if he can hear us or not. Glenn, can you hear us?
What about boom boom?
All right. Yeah, for whatever reason, he may not be able to see us because I was talking to Dustin. Dustin's the one that works this thing much better
Yeah.
than we have. But Glenn, if you can hear us, you can just talk to the mic. We're kind of trying to figure out the camera situation here for some reason. It's being a pain. But let me see. Dustin's like, it's so easy, man. Just click this and that. And I was like, what? I can't figure out, Dustin. Like, I'm sure I'm doing something like super, super simple that I'm messing here. But all I see is all my cameras are good, my virtual. Glenn stepped out, so maybe he was like, I can't hear this, guys. Let me get out of here. Let me see.
But I want to talk about Rushan just kind of talked about Generation Orange, and I remember back in the day. So actually, I worked with I forget his name.
That wasn't Generation Orange, though. You're thinking of the Peel, Christian.
I'm thinking of the PO. Who is Generation Orange?
That's Sean Ringnose.
Oh yeah, and
Mark. Can't think of
Mark.
his name. Yeah.
Yeah, good, cool guys. I met both of them. I met Sean, like one of the first, actually the first game ever that I went to cover the Dynamo as Bayou City Soccer was that the one before the pandemic hit, which was in 2020 against LA Galaxy. And I remember I went to go meet, well, I didn't, went to go meet him, but I found him and he was, I think the Surge was the first year of the Surge in 2020. And they were out there. And then I remember the Austin supporters had come by because they were coming into the league in 2021. So they were kind of like scoping things out. And that's where I met Sean, and he was really cool. Mark is really cool as well. But I guess I'll talk about the Peel.
Yeah.
But I remember they used to do something like that too, right? The Peel, sometimes they did lives.
I see. Glenn, you're back. Can you hear us? We're having
I can now, guys.
Great.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. This is brand new technology for us. Being trying to figure out exactly how to get all the cameras running. I know you probably can see us, but I'm glad you can hear us. So we can get started either way.
The other way around. So you can't see me and then see you two guys.
All right, good. So we're glad to have you, Glenn. Obviously, everybody that follows the Dynamo knows exactly who you are. Legend in the Houston, in our beautiful city of Houston. But we don't want to take a ton of your time, but I think Christian has a couple questions that he'll start off as I continue to kind of figure out the video system on this side of town, man.
All right. How you doing, Glenn?
Good, Christian. How are you? Good.
Doing great.
You as well.
Thank you for joining us. And I mean, we're going to get right to it. Honestly, you obviously had the opportunity to kind of go one-on-one with Pat, and you asked him about this, but we want to get your thoughts on this whole situation, about the striker situation, right? We have Sebas coming back from this loan where it kind of did not work out, right? He just kind of went to Brazil for just a long vacation. And then, we just got rid of Thor, and we kind of have like a hole, and, a little dark cloud inside the box. What do you think, in your opinion, what do you think the Dynamo should do? Do you think, Sebas is going to pan out? Do you think Aliou might be able to step up and get that starting position? How do you see this number 9 situation?
Well, I mean, I want to put it in context first, because I think when we went into last year, I think we all knew, based on what we saw in midfield, once we realized it was a very engaged Hector Herrera, the acquisition of Artur, Coco Carrasquilla, that you had a team now that could be the best possession team that we've ever seen in Houston, quite frankly. I don't think there's any question about that, not in my mind anyway. You also saw that this team developed into an exceptionally good collective defending team. I mean, the team shape, the team was not broken apart by opponents a lot. They protected Steve Clark well. So, those two things kind of go hand in hand. And to me, the big question throughout the year was, where do the goals come from? Yes, I know. I mean, Bassi had half a dozen goals or a dozen goals, but a lot of them were penalties. And we played in a lot of games, I think, the Houston Dynamo, where they should have been easier games. I mean, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup final might even be a really good example of it. That was a game the Dynamo absolutely blew Inter Miami off the field in the first 45 minutes, but didn't take what they deserved, which was a second and third goal, in my opinion. So they had to stay in games, in tighter games, I think, more often than not. That is stressful. It puts defenses under pressure longer. It also doesn't enable you to maybe get minutes for other players like a Brooklyn Reigns or other people that are chomping at the bit to get minutes, need it for their development, etc. So that's the context. Then I take you into, and people might be saying, well, they scored 51 goals. Yeah, but slightly deceptive. So who is the goal scorers? Where are they going to come from? So we're very thin right now. I think that's the one thing that's really on the Dynamo fans' minds is thin at the striker position. So Aliou Ibrahim certainly has a lot of talent, very mobile, certainly has the ability to stretch defenses with his pace. Didn't prove to be a great finisher last year. That's a project. That's an emerging player that you hope is going to come good and produce more goals for you. Then you've got Sebas Ferreira. Didn't score a goal at Vasco da Gama.
Yeah.
So can the Dynamo now, with these two guys, since you don't have a lot of depth there, can you really focus in on them and get something out of them before you obviously have to go find another player or two for this position? Sebas is an interesting case because you guys know as well as I do that he scored 13 goals 2 years ago.
Right.
He's a specialist. He's a finisher. He applies the final touch. Not necessarily the greatest with his back to goal. Not necessarily, going to do as much off the ball as a Corey Baird, but he's a better finisher. So the question is, can the Dynamo, can they bow a little to, now, number one, he's going to have to come back in great shape. Pat Onstad said, to your point, Christian, that, he was banging in goals in training and looked sharp and, all right. Which that's good to hear. But he has got to come in hugely great shape, mentally and physically. He has to realize his career is at a crossroads here. Okay. Right. You haven't scored a goal in, he probably doesn't know
over a year at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's got to definitely be a protagonist in showing people that he wants to turn this thing around. And he's got great opportunity because it's thin in the position right now, right? This could be one of the great stories of comeback, MLS comeback player of the year, whatever you want to say. But it's a heck of an opportunity. I want to see if the Dynamo will bend for him. I want to see if Ben Olsen tactically will bend for him. Can you get the best out of this man that you spent over $4 million to get? And can you design your team in a way that accents his strengths, right? He's not going to be Corey Baird. He's not going to run like a maniac when the ball's lost. But he can work harder. He can push the play to one area of the field. And many a team in Major League Soccer do have guys that are liabilities when the ball's lost, right? Yeah. And they're generally attacking players, but we could name a bunch of them right now that aren't, instantaneously switching over into the defensive.
Yeah, you're a man down you're a man down as long as they lost the ball. Basically.
I mean, you are in Inter Miami as well. I mean, that's not maybe the best example, but you might be two men down there actually with Suarez now. So I guess my point is, it will be interesting to see how much of an effort is made to try and make this guy work because he is a finisher, and we know that if he's facing the goal and there's delivery, he can be dangerous. We saw him get up in the air and flicking some good goals off his head. We saw him, with a quick touch and a shot, create some goals. So I think it's fascinating, but there wasn't a lot done in that position. And I think the reason you don't have to do that. I think all the fans wanted to see a big signing or
Right.
something that would really grip us. But it's Major League Soccer. So the Dynamo could well say, hey, look, we got a playoff team here. We're going to play it the way it is right now. We'll wait till the summer. We'll focus then. We don't have to make a knee-jerk reaction or take a little risk on a signing, which is what you would have to do in Europe, right?
Yeah.
You don't have time to wait like Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer, it's a slow process, as we saw last year, right? First time around, Corey Baird couldn't score goals.
Yeah.
Second time around,
He's
we're
banging
better,
in.
right?
Yeah. So
We're better. So
Glenn, to your point, going down the list, and just I wanted to touch on Ibrahim. Obviously,
Yes.
like most of us, and especially home games, you're there watching every single game. Many of us are necessarily stuck on the the stats part of it, right? For us, a lot of it is just the eye test, and even the eye test and his stats put together, they look very good, except for the fact that he couldn't finish in front of goal. It was so frustrating when it was 6 inches away and he just couldn't tap the ball in. So where I was going with this is, it seems like he has what it takes to be a 15 goals, goal scorer in MLS. From what we saw, I think obviously he only scored 6 goals, but there are so many frustrating possibilities in front of goal. But do you think he can grow? Do you think that at this point, even though Sebas is back, you think Aliu would be considered the starting striker for the team?
Well, I think they're your two choices. So I think right now they're the two that are fighting it out until somebody else comes onto the scene. I thought he got into very good positions. Look, he's a young striker. He's got a lot of maturity that can still carry over. He's got a full preseason now. So I'm optimistic about him. He's a Nigerian Super Eagle. What's not to like? I mean, but I love seeing young guys develop. But you are taking your claim, certainly in the first part of the season, on him, and you're going to hope Nelson Quinones can chip in with more goals. But the front four players last year, none of them have, because Corey obviously is at FC Cincinnati, had a history of scoring a lot of goals.
Right.
I think Coco gets a little bit of an unfair shake because this isn't the position he plays for Panama. He's asked to do different things here. And he's in a different area of the field when he's laying on the final ball a lot of times. It's closer to goal. There's less room. He's in a hybrid role tucked in. Panama, he knows exactly what he's doing. But he's one of the guys like Franco Escobar that really were asked to be team guys and step out of their company. That's not an easy thing for a player. Trust me. As a center back, when I was asked to play left back, I mean, I had nightmares, the night.
What? And
it's not my position. It's where I'm comfortable and
right. And I think that's what I love more about the Daniel Steres story. Just looking back, he would make obviously natural center back, makeshift into a right back at a certain point, then into the left back. I mean, this guy was everywhere, and he just strapped on his boots, went to work, and whenever it wasn't his time, he stepped back. And I think that type of player was really needed, especially as the Dynamo were trying to figure it out themselves as the season went along.
Yeah, you had a couple of them. Daniel was very key in the beginning of the year. I remember on our radio broadcasts, just talking about, wow, he's played center back, right back, left back. And they, so you're center back and you're right foot and you're playing right back. That's one thing. Now you're playing left back. Okay. That's a whole nother thing, because ball comes to you and your natural tendency is to collect it with your right foot. And a lot of times knocking it right back into where the pressure's coming from.
Right.
So you have to let it go across your body onto your left, which may not be your favorite peg, right? So it's not an easy thing to do. But he was very smart about how he played the position, and the way the Dynamo asked him to play the position was very safe, very positional. And you guys are right. He was another guy that stepped out of it. But I would look at Franco Escobar because, when you're negotiating with him to come to Houston, you're saying you're going to be our right back. He had to sacrifice a whole large portion of the year once Griffin Dorsey, blew out onto the scene and changed the entire dimension and, complexion of the Dynamo. And I thought Escobar was excellent, but also, again, not easy to do. So that's one to keep an eye on this year, you know.
I had a question. Something that came up to mind. One of the things that we kind of discussed was about potentially, this probably was my idea, potentially bringing a left back and then playing Escobar and Dorsey in front of him on the right, and you can leave the Colombian kid.
And Nelson Quinones.
Nelson Quinones on the left side, right? And then you bring a natural left back to that position. Because we're talking about Dorsey. Dorsey came up. What would you do with Dorsey? I mean, obviously, if something is perfect, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it, type of thing. What would you do personally with Dorsey? What are your thoughts about Dorsey?
Well, this is just my, it's obviously my opinion, my judgment.
Yeah.
So he has been a midfielder before, but I think what he's found in his career, and I think what the Dynamo know very clearly, is that he is far effective deeper with more space in front of him to go into. Makes him far more effective than if he's higher up the field, he's in more congested areas. And he's very good at selecting the times to go forward, and by tucking Carrasquilla inside, poses some problems for opponents, and the guy has 3 lungs, right? Yeah. But on top of all of that, the thing to me that was just fascinating was technically, he just went 180. I mean, we remember the years before on not good teams, he'd get into the final third, the cross would end up behind the goal, guys would be in the box and they get no chance because the final piece isn't there. Well, now the final piece is there. He's obviously worked unbelievably hard. He's obviously a winner. It endears you as a fan or a commentator or an ex-player, all of us. It endears you to see guys work at their game and then be successful, right? I mean, this is part of what I love about the sport, right? I mean, I'm rooting for Sebas Ferreira come back.
I think we all are.
Fascinating. Will the coach, will the professional setup really try to get the best out of him? And will Sebas hold his bargain up, right? Because Sebas has got to maybe alter what he does a little bit. So I don't know. I think it's all fascinating. But for me, Dorsey was a huge piece in turning this entire season around. I don't think it can be said enough.
Let me ask you another one. This might be also an opinion, right? So the number being thrown out there for Carrasquilla is between 8 to 10 million. The valuation that they kind of want to get rid of. I don't know where those numbers came from, but that's the number that it seems like they want to sell him at. Me, myself, I think he's very talented, of course, but I don't think he's up to that number. I would, if I was the Dynamo, I would be content in the 4 to 6 range. Maybe I'm downplaying his talent, but I don't think he's been playing an 8 to 10 at the Dynamo. Maybe with Panama, you talked about the different roles that he's been asked to play. Do you think the valuation for Coco Carrasquilla is good at that range, or because I think that's what's making it difficult for him to move on?
I like the range you're in. Just we're outsiders in this thing.
Yeah.
We're definitely outsiders in this thing. But I heard around the country, he's had an amazing season. Well, he always gives you an effort, right? We know that. He's always good getting out of pressure with the ball. He didn't have an amazing season in the position he's playing. And again, I conditioned that with he's playing out of position. And he's been a fantastic team player. He's highly professional as a young man. But if somebody's watching MLS, I don't know where they're going to pay 8 to 9 million for him. That's just me. That's just me. Now, if you're watching Panama, might be a different story. But then if you just look at the overall qualities, what type of an agent do you have? What the Dynamo want. I mean, I personally hope the dance will end at some point here. I hope it ends by the summer, because I think the dance gets a little, if this is a guy that's desiring to get to Europe and that's in his mind all the time, he's done an exceptionally great job of staying focused on the task at hand, right? Mm-hmm. Even though we all know, because he's publicly said it, that he wants to get to Europe. So
Yeah.
I think the inability to move him also, and again, this is the Dynamo's prerogative, not any of ours. That's Pat Onstad, the owner. They know what they want him valued at, and they know they're staying hard on it. That's all credit to them. But
for sure.
But you may not be able to make some of these other moves without, kind of moving him, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like a deck of cards, right? One thing affects another thing. So, but look, he's a wonderful player. I love watching him get out of pressure with the ball. He sometimes jumps out of midfield like he was shot out of a cannon, and I'm hoping that he's going to produce more final product this year, because he was in a lot of situations, not only to finish, but even to lay on a final pass at times that could have changed a lot of games. And if that comes good, maybe that's a big help in solving your goal scoring problems.
For sure.
Well, Glenn, we really love having you here, and continue. Obviously, we know that your time is limited, and before you go, I have two questions actually.
Yeah, no problem. You don't have to rush.
Okay, great. So it took me a while to get the cameras going, but now that we have you here, it seems like we got a good amount of people checking this out. But just on the performance, obviously you watch the games, you narrate the games, you're part of the whether it be on the radio or on TV for quite a long time with the Dynamo. But how does that team performance and standings impact the enjoyment for you when it comes to the energy or commentating every game every year type of thing?
It's a really good question, because we went through a lot of lean years. You guys know that, right? So we had a lot of lean years, and listen, when you want a franchise to do so well in a place that you've spent the majority of your life. In my case, I came here, I think I was 22, maybe 23, to play on the pro team. You want it to be priority. You want it to be super successful. You know how good of a soccer city this is. And, you want the MLS product to reach the biggest heights it can reach, right? And it was rough. It's rough. And it's not easy to call games when you have a reputation to uphold, when you have to be honest to your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also want to show the team in the best light you can. But, I think we all learned a very valuable lesson here, and I don't think it's a hard one to figure out, because in a lot of ways, when the team was struggling, Rudy and Christian, that, you can talk about tactics, you can talk about coaches, you can talk about all these other things, but then you have to look, and I say this incredibly respectfully, not disrespectfully, but you have to look at the players and the quality of the players you have in positions and how does it mesh. And so you turn it over with 17 players, all of a sudden you're a good possession team. Now you've the coaching staff and everybody's put together a great team shape and a great, the word is now game model, or I would say tactical setup. And now you're competitive. We knew this team was going to be competitive from the beginning of the year. We knew that. No question. We knew it would be pushing for the playoffs. I had them like, in the last 3 playoff spots. So they really overachieved, in my opinion. But yeah, last year was incredibly fun. I could not wait to get down to the stadium. Very different vantage point, because, you guys know since '96 I've done television in the league. Whether it's for the Dynamo or for ESPN or Fox, national broadcast, different games in different markets too. Dynamo since the inception. So it was different. It was radio.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different vantage point, kind of tucked on one side. So, you have a bar in front of you. So, you get your environment scoped out. But on the other hand, you were very close to the field, which I loved. So it was just very, very different. Radio is a different medium than TV is. You have to be a little bit more wordy and descriptive. You can't lean on natural sound. like in those playoff games, if I was on TV with the national sound bouncing around Shell Energy Stadium, you just be quiet for portions. Like
Yeah.
you lay out for 15, 20 seconds and let everybody bathe in the acoustics and the visual. Well, you don't have that with radio. So most of the time you got to be blabbering away, right? So it's different. But to your point, last year was absolutely exceptional. Enjoyed every moment of it.
And I'm sure you're super excited for this 2024 season to kick off. Obviously, you have the Champions Cup is back. So an international competition for the Dynamo that will have a game at Shell Energy Stadium.
Unfortunately, we got St. Louis first, right?
Yeah,
that ain't international competition. We wanted
yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
When we got St. Louis.
I was hoping for a Honduran team, a Haiti team.
Yeah. Saprissa, something.
Yeah,
something over water.
Well, you have to go against one of the tough. I mean, granted, everybody's tough in this competition, but they were first in the Western Conference for a reason. So it's not going to be a fun one to an extent. But it should be overall. The tournament is going to be a good one, and obviously, Leagues Cup is going to be around as well. I'm really not sure what U.S. Open Cup is going to look like at this point, but you mentioned a little bit about wanting to see more of Coco Carrasquilla. Is there any specific player that you're looking, forward to seeing in 2024? We're seeing some growth.
Well, I think we mentioned a lot of them. I think Aliou Ibrahim. I think there's real healthy pressure on him, Nelson Quinones, to continue their development as young players. I think the Dynamo have worked with them well, been patient with them, made a great move to exercise the loan on Nelson Quinones. Also, Coco Carrasquilla, who's still young by most standards, certainly by mine.
Yeah.
Tate Schmidt comeback at left back, who had some nice moments getting forward in the beginning of the year. I mean, it's been a total afterthought. I'm always rooting for a guy who's coming back from a serious injury like that. I truly want to see how the whole Sebas Ferreira thing plays out. I think there's a lot of intrigue, even though we didn't pick up a lot of new players.
To add to that, Kovalcic, the Polish player, the Polish midfielder, Kovalcic, he was so fun to watch. The very small glimpses that we got out of him. It just a completely different player. It seems like he's very good tactically and has a lot of skill for what we've seen. So I'm excited to see him and see kind of how, if he takes over what Bassi's role is or not at this point. He'd be fighting him.
Well, he's the first guy, off the bench in one of those two roles, either Coco or Bassi. Personally, I think if we don't look at Hector Herrera again and say, can he produce another season like that? Because he was out of this world last year. I mean, to me, it was the league MVP, what he did for an entire team, organization, on and off the field, to watch this man play and to be focused and to lead, to work his teammates. He plays the game differently in the differing thirds of the field, highly intelligent. I think we all heard him, great reader of the game, but we all heard him say this was one of the most satisfying seasons he's had. And I think it's because of the overwhelming responsibility he was basically given, right? But he may not have had it at Atletico Madrid, right? May not have had as
he was a role player, right? In Atletico, at least. Porto, he was the captain, so.
But, he was playing really well for a time period there with under the man in black, right? Simeone. But I think to watch him last year was a real treat for all of us in Houston. And I will say one other thing that we cannot bypass. Eric Sviatchenko was a huge signing for this team. The club did an amazing job picking this guy out. What a bargain at $500,000 a year. But his experience, his ability to partner with Mikael. You talk about two center backs playing at one. I've always loved the older center back with the younger one, because I had that experience as a player, being a younger guy with a 33-year-old guy who was telling me what to do pretty much every second, but made me a better soccer player. and
Sure.
made us a pair, right? I mean, you're the sum of two parts there a lot of times.
Yeah.
So he's another one. But yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of intrigue. On the other hand, I think for me, and this is not, I'm not taking shots at anybody, but as a spectator and a fan, you want to see like one signing you can really grab
Sure.
hold of in the off season.
So you bummed out Griezmann is not coming in the summer at this point.
There's a lot of people drinking heavy alcohol. I
Oh
think.
man.
It's water.
Yeah. Straight vodka for some, for sure. But that's pretty funny. But apart from the Dynamo, obviously covering Dash and all the sports around, Women's Gold Cup, it's around the corner. Obviously, we got Copa America, as you can see. Christian in the background has his Argentina flag, and he's hoping to see Messi.
Christian's not shy about that.
Play a quarterfinal
He
here.
comes from a great soccer playing country, and it's that
I
passion
have
that
to.
makes Argentina special.
But how excited are you of this big tournaments, especially the one stopping here in Houston?
This is crazy what's going on. I mean, Copa America is essentially the World Cup of South America plus some guest teams. It's being monetized in the U.S. It's in our backyard in Houston. Unbelievable. You got Gold Cup the following year. You're going to get some friendlies with big clubs like Man City or Real Madrid or somebody. Some of that's going to happen here. And then, of course, you got the World Cup in 2026. I mean,
Wow.
To even sit here and think about this in literal terms, it's almost like, pinch me,
Yeah.
It's like, first, let's get through the Copa America. But Leagues Cup, I think, is going to develop into something really cool.
Sure.
I really enjoyed the Leagues Cup last year with the Mexican clubs. And I think, neither league doesn't want to look good in that tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of pride on the line and a lot of history from the Mexican clubs. And we're developing our own in MLS. So there's a lot. But, I'm like you guys. I'm just as excited as you guys.
And that tournament couldn't have gone any better. If Messi would not have scored the goals that he did, people may not have been as hyped on that tournament for sure.
Yeah, he's on the world tour, and they just played in Dallas. I guess they lost to Dallas at the time of this taping 1-0, but they're going to Hong Kong, they're going to the Middle East.
Which that's something we've never really seen before. Obviously,
Well, you have. I have. When the New York Cosmos had everybody, Pelé, Beckenbauer, Quinaglia, Marinho, all these guys.
Crazy.
They went to China, they went to Hong Kong, they went to South America. Crazy. I'm going to get one of the former players from that team, Santiago Formoso, who was born in Spain, but ended up in New Jersey, not far where I grew up. And he was one of the American players that played quite a bit, and very technical player, very good player, Santiago. But I'm going to get him to come on and talk a little bit about that tour and, obviously the passing of Beckenbauer and Pelé in recent times.
That'd be great.
It's crazy.
I'm glad you brought that in because that's a great segue. So now we get Glenn Davis twice a week. Is that correct, Glenn?
Yeah. So we moved twice a week. Right now it's Wednesday. This week it'll be Wednesday and Thursday, 7 to 8 Central Time. When you do these things, sometimes shifting time slots or it gives you a little jump. You have to look at the way you're doing the program a little bit differently. It's hard hitting. It's 1 hour. It's faster. It's less taped interviews. It's more live guests. It's more phone calls. So from that standpoint, I kind of like it. It's a little bit different, and plan to get on still great guests and keep the phone lines open for people. And, I want to see Christian Putellas calling in sometime and Rudy Segura calling that and just say, hey, I don't agree with you.
I like it. And we definitely have to hit another live show. I think we were at a live show.
Yeah, that was great. You guys came out. We're at where were we? We were at Hugh O'Connor's.
We're Hugh O'Connor. So whenever you go to the empanada place, let us know.
Yeah.
And, even if we don't make an appearance, we'll go
we'll
try
go
the
eat.
empanadas.
That's Antonia Empanadas. My friend Sebastian Abraham, who is Argentine, and they're great. And they're right by the station too, which isn't bad.
That helps.
Christian, man, do you have anything else you want to ask Glenn? I know you always do.
I always do. But I think if I ask him more questions, we'll be here another hour.
You can have one or two more. I'm good.
See?
No, what was I gonna say? No, we'll just keep it for later because it's it's a question that Rudy's gonna hate and everybody's gonna hate me for. But just let me tell you this:
Just go for it. Yeah, I already know.
Go for it because I'm not afraid to answer
All right,
anything.
so this is a discussion that I've had with all the guys for probably about a year now, and everybody hates me for it, and you probably will too, and that's okay. But there's a word that I hate that I think everybody knows, which is the word super sub. I don't believe it's a thing.
We're gonna be here for 5 hours. I can already feel it.
I told, the warning was there. But no, see, like I don't believe it. You're either a starter or a bench guy. There's no such thing as a super sub. I understand there's guys that come in and change games, but to give them a whole title of super sub, I feels like it's disrespectful to that player because that player is not there to be a super sub. He's there to be a starter and be a role player and be there and play all the minutes. So I feel like it's diminishing the player to call him a super sub. It's like, well, we'll just use him. You're only worth for 20 minutes of our time. I don't know. I mean, you play professionally. I didn't play professionally, but I can tell you this, that when I played, the teams that I played, I didn't want to be a super sub. I wanted to be in the field at all times. And I understand sometimes you might have different skills than others, but I like that. This whole thing started with
okay. Words can bug us, but there's a lot of ways to look at that. I don't see it as derogatory. So remember Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on Manchester?
Dorito.
There's a lot of guys who get coined that, and he got coined that because this guy would come in games and score goals always. There are players that are more suited to differing roles in differing time periods. Now, don't for a second think the guy didn't want to be a starter. I mean, if you don't want people to be happy that are on the bench. This whole thing is, we got a happy locker room. No, you don't. You got a bunch of guys that didn't play and they're going home. They're getting in their car. They weren't part of the win physically on the field, and they are not happy. Okay, but they are team guys and they will remain respectful, right? So super sub is a funny word. But, I think with the way the substitution patterns go now with up to 5, I think coaches are looking at players as 45, 55, 60-minute players. And they're getting kind of pigeonholed. The minute you went to 5 substitutions, the coaching game changed dramatically. The definition of players changed dramatically because you only had 3. Somebody got injured, you were burnt one right there, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. To now where sometimes you're bringing 2-3 guys on at once.
The team. Yeah.
And you might say in a high-pressing, highly athletic, modern game now, hey, Aliou, push it for 55. Just push it. If you got more, we'll let you go 60. Push it. I mean, it's really changed things quite a bit. And the other thing is some players are better off a bench in latter stages of games when the edge is off of people physically, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a player that's more highly technical. It's when you want to protect a little physically. You don't want him in there in the first 45 minutes getting the kicked out of him. You wait till the edge is off the game. People can't close him down as quick. He's got a little bit more room. He's up against fatiguing defenders. And, you look at it from that standpoint. But, Christian, if you don't like the word super sub, I'll never say that word again.
It makes his blood boil for some reason. It's worse than saying, and that's another thing. This guy really believes that Riquelme is better than Messi. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's stuff that bothers me too. I hate hearing we're on the front foot. I get tired of that one, And it spreads like wildfire. Once the words are out there, man, they spread, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah. There's a
24. Rest assured.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot takes that I have that the guys don't agree, but I'll die with them.
Yeah,
So
but you know
all
what?
right.
Disagreeing is a good thing. Unfortunately, we've always agreed too much on the Houston Dynamo down here. We need
Yeah.
more healthy pressure. We need, I would like, it is kind of, we want the media one day to be people that are challenging a little bit what's going on and challenging the coach and the staff and the club a little bit. The club wants that. You don't survive without healthy pressure. You need that. That grows the sport. Then more people call into shows. Then more people have opinion and aren't afraid to have an opinion. And we need more of that. We need less regurgitating of information and more of that kind of opinionated stuff, because that ultimately is going to bode well for everybody. Everybody. I'm on the radio some nights. I need somebody to call in and disagree with me. So remember that, guy.
There you go.
We got you.
Put me in my place. Let's debate. We can debate. There's a lot of people out there that says Sebas has no chance.
No.
Right?
I mean, I can see it, but me personally, I have a little bit of faith, but
see,
because this year, like Glenn said, this year literally is going to make or break his career. Like, that's what I think.
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
it's a big deal.
He needs 10 goals at least to at least
He
move
might
on.
he
with
might
his
not
life.
even be, if he scored in Brazil, he might have been moved on by the Dynamo. The Dynamo have really no choice but to try and work with the man, and he's got to want to save his career, but they have to work with the man to try and figure out how to unleash the specialist skills that he has, and that's as a finisher. I mean, we saw him score some good goals on not a great team.
Yeah.
He is kind of one-dimensional, but he was your signing. You paid big money for him, and you really have no choice, to be honest.
Yep, you got to bite the bullet.
As thin as you are right now, after Thor moves over to Hungary, and it could turn out to be an incredibly great story. It could bring out something in a coach, Ben Olsen, that maybe he finds out about himself at this point in his coaching career and his staff. I mean, it's a wonderful challenge.
Yeah, especially it's really difficult, especially when you move players out on loan. That usually means you never see them again, right? I mean, we saw that with like Mati Beta in the same team. I mean, so Mati Beta.
Weston McKennie just came back to Juventus. Remember, from Leeds.
Yeah,
true.
But he thought he was done with Juventus, and now he's one of the best players on the team. So they obviously changed their mind about him. Something happened in the transition, and he came back meaning business, and he's one of the best players week in and week out for Juventus.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I want to believe in Ferreira. I just don't know if he's really there. I don't know whenever I guess a couple of days back before training started with the Dynamo, they're showing he's posting videos wearing like LAFC jersey or an Austin FC jersey, and it's already something that maybe other fans are not necessarily like liking the fact that he's back, because everybody's trying to find a way to get him out, and
not a great thing to do.
Yeah, so
he's got to all on board, and even if he's looking for a move, he's got to show people that he's highly professional, and I guess the story will be told, right? Okay. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Yeah, excited to see what happens with him for sure.
All right. Yeah, me too. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for it to work.
I want 15 goals minimum. And all of them called by Glenn Davis. That's my
13, and with a good wide game with Dorsey, you never know.
Imagine, yeah.
I mean, you can think back on this season, and if you had a sharp, and you think about his first season, would he have scored goals this year? So we'll see.
Yeah, and also imagine, if Quiñones, all the times that he's able to get to the touch line, and all the times that he's able to get to the box, now he didn't have that then. Like you said, he didn't have Dorsey. He didn't have, somebody to feed him balls like Coco and potentially Hector Herrera. It's a whole different team for him. So it's a whole different, I'm sure his head has to be, mentality has to change completely because
Yeah, and you're hoping that the team welcomes him back in
exactly.
and
Yeah.
surrounds him and gives him good vibes and gives him encouragement and confidence. He's a player that's going to need confidence from his teammates and coaching
sure.
staff. I don't think there's any question. He's got to very easily come in and demonstrate that he's here to mean business and be a professional. Back to Quinones, he spent half the year he couldn't separate himself from people. To your point, getting to the end line. And then finally, magically, it started clicking. And
a couple months before the term loan was ending, right? It was just perfect timing. It was just perfect timing.
Because, that was the frustrating thing. He'd take off and he'd be gone, and then he'd cut it back on his right, and the entire opposing team would be back defensively, right? Because he's playing as an inverted winger, and that's the way the Dynamo want to do it. But he's another one that'll be fun to watch this year if he blossoms further.
For sure. All right. Do you have anything else, Rudy?
No, man. I think this has been great. Thank you so much, Glenn, for joining us. Try to take as much time as you give us.
Anytime. I'm in it for all of us. We're all doing the best we can. We all enjoy it, and you guys are doing great work. Keep it up, and we keep spreading the good lore. And besides that, we enjoy it. So what more can you say, right?
For sure. No, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, no. Next time I'll ask you about play it out the back if you like it or not, because I don't. But that's a conversation for another day.
That would be a good one.
But Glenn, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll see you soon, and we'll be calling in.
I want an unsolicited call.
There you go.
Glenn, I don't agree with you, or bring a topic up. Doesn't matter. Whatever you guys like. Right?
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
It might be about super subs.
There you go.
The only super sub I like are Subway or something like that. But anyways.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right.
That was fun.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks to Glenn Davis, man. I'm glad that we reached out, and we already have another guest right for next week, Christian. So hopefully that one pans out too. Another radio personality. And the bad part with us is, man, we get to record kind of late. So I'm glad that you guys are hanging on. It looks like it's been pretty steady on how many people are watching us. So thanks for that, man. Thanks to Giuseppe, Rushan, Dago, Charles. I don't know who goalkeeper Bidias is, but he seems like
he's going to sleep. Go to sleep,
seems
bro.
like a great guy. But yeah, thanks for all you guys listed, man. Hopefully that we can continue to do this. I think we got the hang of it. So as you can see, Christian, we got the cameras up.
Hey.
Dustin texted me and he's like, I think whatever overlay that you created, I think is blocking y'all. And as soon as I got rid of it, boom, there we
go.
So I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what the hell I did with that layout. But we'll get it fixed, man, because I kind of like it. It was a nice little layup, so I need to figure out exactly what the hell I did wrong on that. But no, dude. So we will try to continue to record on Monday nights and kind of have some guests every now and then. I know that Dustin was gonna try to make it, or he's gonna try to make it every Monday if possible. Joey as well. So we have a couple of these guys in here, but Christian, man, I feel like we talked a lot with Glenn Davis, and honestly, a lot of the topics that I had. Was there anything that you want to touch on, man, or before we?
No, honestly, I think we probably talked enough what we wanted to say. No, I mean, I'm good. I think we'll give the Dynamo another week, and we'll see what they come up with. All
right, man. So feel free to tell the people how they can connect with us.
Yes, don't forget, guys, if you haven't yet, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's see if you're in it right now at Bayou City Soccer. Don't forget to check out the website at BayouCitySoccer.net or BayouCitySoccer.net. Check out the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everything like that. I have a kid trying to climb into the camera. Nobody. No. But the kids are awake and stuff like that. But we'll see you guys next time. You can find me at Chris Putalias, Rudy at Rudy Segura 3, Rodrigo at Rodrigo Segura 01, and Joey Chabala 10. And you can find Dustin over there on Twitter. So hit us up. Don't forget, check out the website, check out the store. And yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, thank you guys. We'll stay in touch. We'll probably put this on the podcast somehow. Well, I gotta figure that out too, but that's for me in there. So hold it down and keep it forever, orange guys.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you so much, guys.